Hello everyone, welcome to this video about some shapes that are used or were used by Django, there he is, on rhythm changes. And this is the first of a little series, or maybe it's a long series, I don't know, called Shaping the Masters, which basically means that I look what a certain musician, not necessarily guitar players, could be saxophone players, piano players, trumpet players, but famous musicians, well-known musicians, past and present, what they do on a certain progression, certain song, or in this case, a progression like rhythm changes. And then I show you 5 phrases, and then I'll show you the shapes that the phrases come from. And sometimes I'll show you how I turned the phrase into a shape. But with Django, of course, because I've studied him so much, or other gypsy jazz players that study Django, I already know the shapes that Django used, or a shape that I made that fits the line of Django. And so I chose to start with rhythm changes, and that's because I think rhythm changes is an important part of playing both the jazz and gypsy jazz, and it's a good starting point for improvisation. Because contrary to what a lot of people say, and I've heard people say it in videos, I don't agree with the statement that rhythm changes are the hardest to play. I think it's the easiest progression to play, because if you analyze rhythm changes, it's basically a bunch of 1 and 5 chords, or substitutions of one of those, right? And I don't want to go into the full harmony analysis, because I already did that in a video which is only about rhythm changes, the harmony, and how to approach it, and I will link it under this video. But now let's look at what Django does. 5 examples, and I'm talking about the A parts of rhythm changes, not the B part, the A part. And I'll show you the 5 phrases, and I play them all in B flat. Even though Django played these rhythm changes in different keys, I took some from rhythm changes in C and some from rhythm changes in D, but I transposed everything to B flat. So let's get started with the first phrase. Okay, so this is the camera angle for the guitar neck, and the first phrase is played on the second 4 bars of the A. So the progression, right? The standard progression is B flat, G minor, 2, 5, 1, 6. Now get B flat 7, E flat, E diminished, B flat, F7, B flat. Well, the chords are also in the tab that you will see, and I'm talking now about a phrase on the second 4 bars, so where it goes B flat 7, right? This is usually, if you don't realize how easy the harmony is, people get tripped up by this progression. And if we look at Django, you can see that he does a very simple thing. So let me first play it, and then I will explain what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. A little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is Django doing? Django is just playing B flat blues, or just B flat. And let me explain to you how I see this, right? So the beginning, let's do that later. Let's do the part after that. For me, this comes from this shape, right? This is just a B flat major triad, and then the most iconic lick inside that shape is this one, which for me is the start of playing blues on a jazz guitar. What you start like that, right? It's also in there, and it's also in the phrase, right? So if you want to know more about the way I think about blues, I will link a video with a bunch of blues licks, and you will see the shape in there. Well, another thing we have here is a major scale, which is very easy to play in this position. I talk about this shape in my video about the major scale, which I will also link. And there's of course a B flat major 7 arpeggio. Both very easy to play in this position, and I will also link a video about major 7 arpeggios. And the beginning, I see that as this shape, as part of B flat major 7. So it starts with that shape, and now we go into the bluesy. So basically Django is ignoring the chords, but not really, because if you look at my video about rhythm changes analysis, you will understand what he's doing. But he's just playing B flat major 7 and B flat blues. Of course with a lovely phrase. So you still got to study this phrase, but now you can see how I look at this as a shape. And it's easy for me to remember because I just have to remember 2 shapes, B flat major 7 and this blues. And maybe the B flat major scale, because of, but not really. I mean, that's just a little scale. I still see it as this. Okay, let me just play this phrase inside rhythm changes so you can hear it. So I'll just play some rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right on the first A. Here we go. Great. So okay, the second phrase is on the first 4 bars. And it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It starts on the 4th beat of the first bar. So 1, 2, 3. So inside rhythm changes, so I'll just start the second 4 bars of the first A. So you get. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's start with the end. The end is this A diminished, resolving to a G. And this A diminished is just playing F7 with a flat 9. That's what he's thinking, right? If you just think a diminished chord from the 3rd, so F7, the 3rd is A, and you play diminished, you're playing F7 sharp 9, flat 9. And it's extra nice if you start on the 3rd, and you start on beat 1 and you play 8th notes, you can resolve to the 6 of B flat, the G. That's a nice effect. And so there's nothing to explain about it. It's just a diminished arpeggio. We've talked about it many times. I will link a video about diminished arpeggios if you want to know more. So let's look at the beginning, because that's more curious. 1, 2, 3. And then we have this. So those two notes are just a enclosure to the A. Right, so, but let's look at the stuff before. Right, so you might think, well, that is a B flat Dorian scale or something, right? It's just the notes of A flat major. So that's weird. What he's playing A flat Dorian or B flat Dorian on the B flat rhythm changes, but don't think about modes. That's my advice. Never think about modes when you're playing jazz, because it will obfuscate the nature of jazz, which is about resolution, tension and resolution, and modes look at a static sound on a chord, right? So there's another video about that, which I will also link. But I tend to look more at what is this doing on B flat, right? So because we're in the first 4 bars, which is basically B flat. And if you know that you can play blues on it, right? And you have this kind of sound, which is a typical gypsy jazz way of playing blues. Right, we get back to this shape again. You just extend that sound, and then you're there. So I just see it as an extension of the blues, played in a different position. Now, I think it works best if you play some bluesy stuff before, right? If you play rhythm changes, let's say. Then it really works, because we're in this bluesy mindset. So it's not. Well, it is, of course, it is B flat Dorian, but I don't think about it. I think it as blues. And the shape here, actually, I think if you want to play a blues, I would stick to this shape. But if you move your hand up, you can just play this little scale. It's great as an extension of this earlier blues sound. And then you resolve to this A. I kind of feel you have to play it exactly like this if you want to do this. Of course, you can be free with the rhythms. But the shape is this. That little scale. And I see it as a B flat blues thing. So if you think about bluegrass, that's basically what they do, right? They play a song in G, and they play Dorian stuff over it, or Mixolydian, but one of those, and it will sound bluesy. So you do the same thing here. It works great, and it works great in many songs. Let's say you play a song like Coquette. Right, you play it right there. Especially if you play some bluesy stuff before. So great shape, and experiment with it. Just play around with this, and just maybe play different rhythms. Or repeat little parts of it. Okay, let's look at the third phrase. The third phrase is over the complete A part, so it's 8 bars. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what's happening here? Well, the beginning, the same blues shape, and now we get this, which is F7 or F7-9, where there's no F in it, there's a G in it. For me, this comes from this shape. That's my basic shape for F7 here. So I can play down. I would play a bebop scale like this. I made a video about this too. I'm pretty sure, I don't know which one, but if I find it, I will link it. It's right there. Alright, so we start with the blue shape, now the F7 shape, or a part of it. Same shape. What do we have here? That's a G minor shape. That's a standard G minor arpeggio played like a gypsy jazz player like this. Or you can play with I play with the third finger. You can play the second finger too. Right? But he starts an octave higher. And playing G minor arpeggio on the B flat is a standard thing. In gypsy jazz, you get the 6 in there, right? So, for instance, you play this F7, maybe blues scale down, bebop scale down. You play G minor up on the B flat. You get F7, B flat. So that's what's happening here. And then he ends on this D flat, but the D flat is just part of another blues thing. Where? So it goes from the blues form to the F7 to back to the blues, and then the G minor arpeggio, and back to the blues shape. Right, you could just improvise with those 3 elements without playing this exact thing. Right, you could play something like 1, 2, 3. Right, I just played those 3 elements, and you get the same kind of sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. Okay, so what is this? This beginning is by squarely in this shape. That's for me a basic shape for major 7 chords. So in this case, B flat major 7. I think this shape is in a couple of videos. I think it's in the video about major 7. It's in the video about the major scale. And inside this shape, it's a very interesting shape. There's lots of stuff. You could just play the whole thing, or you could play, right? Or you could play, and it's also part of it. So, and it ends on this B, and this B is just a weird note to play. I think Django wants to play a weird note, but it resolves very nicely to B flat if you want, right? You could play. Sorry. So that's something nice to remember. If you play this shape and you want to get out of the sounding like you're playing B flat major 7 all the time, let's say you have a very long 1 chord. You would just do that little trick. That's what Django does, but he ends on that B flat, on that B. And then he continues with this scale, which is in my major 7, or in my video about the major scale. This scale is in my video. I call it the Paulus Shaver major scale, because I hear him play it a lot. But it's a great scale, so he got it from Django, of course, because he stops it here instead of going playing chromatic on the highest string. He plays it on one string earlier, on the B string. And that's a great little skill to remember when you are playing that first shape. You gotta start on the F to have it work on the rhythm. Otherwise, you have to start before the beat if you want to start with the E. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that ending is just a nice little bluesy flavor. It's actually all part of this. I always see it as one little shape. The shape down, and then that scale up. And then he plays, it's still in the shape. What's this? Well, this is he's thinking F7, flat 9, flat 13. Well, right, that's F7 Albert. Maybe you play it like this. So, just a nice little thing to play after you play that shape for a while and want to go to F7. So you have two little tricks you can do with this shape. Or, right? Very nice. It works great on the turnaround. Let's say you're playing All of Me, right? So you have the ending. Or very nice. Okay, now and the last phrase sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so very nice phrase, very bluesy again. And the beginning is a shape or a form of the major scale, which is often played by Dutch-style gypsy jazz players. Of course, they got it from Django. People like Stochelo, this is a skill I learned from him. So in B flat, there's an open string. So let's say we played in D. You put your pinky on the D, and then you have 2 slides with the first finger. So it's very comfortable to play, and it's a very nice skill to play all kinds of trills. Right, you gotta figure out a little bit. And that's what Django basically is doing. Right, now there's an open string, but let's say you play in D. Then there's 2 slides, but in B flat, the second slide is an open string. So it starts like that. This B flat major scale, this nice, let's call it the gypsy jazz fingering, because I've never seen this fingering explained in scale systems. Right, and then he goes back to the blues form. Right, this. There's an O from the blues. So, a new shape for you, that major scale. practice in all keys, right? You just put your pinky on the root. This would be C. Slide. And then you can practice it like Django with the trills. So there you go. That's a bunch of great phrases for you to play on rhythm changes or other songs. And also a look into the shapes that I think about when playing these phrases. And if you practice the shapes separately, and I think you can get them from the video, they were not in the tab, but they're not that hard. And also they're in the other videos, probably with tab. And then you can just experiment with the shapes. And that's interesting. So you get a kind of mental picture of where it is on the neck. And then you can see what Django does with the shapes. So you get the shape and the music that goes with the shape. And that's what I want to attempt to do in this series. Show you some nice phrases by different players and then show you the shapes that go with it. Instead of too much information about theory or skills, just think about shapes. And if you think that approach is strange, watch a video on YouTube of Joe Pass called Jazz Lines. Somebody sent it to me, and he's doing exactly the same thing as me. He's not thinking about theory. He's thinking about shapes on the guitar neck. I think it's the way that most guitar players back in the day used to look at their instrument, because that just makes sense. The guitar neck is built to, or the way the guitar is built with all the frets, shapes make the most sense, and it's the fastest way to learn improvisation. And not modes and scales. It's also a way, but I think it is a long way towards improvising. If you want to have quick results, musical results, fast, then I think shapes are the way to go. So that's why I want to keep focusing on shapes, and I will see you all in the next video. And of course, like, subscribe. Bye.